Chapter 1. A Quiet Beginning. William McKinley was born in a small Ohio town on January 29, 1843. The town was Niles, a place many people had never heard of. It was a quiet, modest community with dirt roads, simple homes, and hard-working people. The McKinley family lived in a small wooden house. Winters were cold and harsh. Summers were long and hot. Life wasn't easy, but it was full of love. William's parents, William Sr. and Nancy McKinley, were honest and kind. They believed in hard work and doing what was right. They didn't have much money, but they had strong values. Nancy often said, "No matter how small you are, you can make a difference if your heart is big." Those words stayed with young William for the rest of his life. The McKinley home was always bustling. William was the 7th of 9 children. The older siblings helped the younger ones, and everyone had chores to do. William helped his father at the iron foundry, where heavy tools clanged and fires roared. The work was tough, but William never complained. He wanted to be helpful. He wanted to make his family proud. The McKinleys went to church every Sunday. Faith was an important part of their lives. In church, William learned about kindness, humility, and perseverance. The lessons filled him with hope and courage. He listened carefully to the sermons, often imagining himself doing something great one day. But what could a boy from a small town achieve? He didn't know. Yet. William loved school. His teachers noticed how curious he was. He asked questions and wanted to understand the world. He loved books, especially history. Stories about brave leaders fascinated him. He read about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. He dreamed about helping others just like they did. But sometimes, the dream felt far away. After all, he was just a boy in Niles. When William wasn't studying, he explored the countryside. He liked walking through the woods and watching the animals. He enjoyed the peace and quiet. He also spent time with his brothers and sisters, playing games and telling stories. Even then, William was known for being gentle and caring. If a sibling fell or got hurt, he was the first to help. His mother would smile and say, "William has a big heart." The McKinleys faced challenges. Like many families of that time, money was tight. There were no luxuries. When one child needed shoes, the others had to wait their turn. But they didn't complain. They were grateful for what they had. Nancy often reminded them, "Hard times teach us what's truly important: family, faith, and doing good." These lessons shaped William's character. One day, a neighbor came to visit. She brought a basket of apples to share. As they talked, she told William's parents about a scholarship for bright students. "William is so clever," she said. "He should apply." William's mother smiled proudly, but his father hesitated. "We don't have the money for college," he said. But Nancy believed in her son. "If this is meant to be," she said, "we'll find a way." William dreamed about going to college, but he knew it would be hard. He studied even harder at school, hoping to prove himself. His siblings cheered him on, saying, "You can do it, Will." Their encouragement meant everything to him. At church, an elderly man once told William, Kindness and courage can take you far in life. Never forget that. Those words stayed with him. William often thought about how he could make the world better. He wanted to do more than just live a simple life in Niles. He wanted to make a difference. But how? In the evenings, after finishing his chores, William would sit by the fireplace with his books. The flickering flames lit up the room, casting shadows on the walls. His mother would sew or knit, while his father read the newspaper. William liked hearing the news of the world. It was exciting, and it made him wonder, what is my place in all of this? One winter morning, the McKinley family gathered around the kitchen table for breakfast. The smell of oatmeal and fresh bread filled the air. Snow covered the ground outside, sparkling in the sunlight. William's father looked at him and said, "You're growing up, son. Life won't always be easy, but I know you'll do great things." William's heart swelled with pride. He wanted to live up to his father's words. As he grew older, William started to think more about his future. Would he stay in Niles and work at the foundry like his father? Or would he follow his dreams and explore the world? He didn't have the answers yet, but he was determined to find them. One day, while walking through town, William saw a group of boys playing by the river. They were skipping stones and laughing. William joined them, but his mind wandered. He thought about his family and their struggles. He thought about the people in town who worked hard every day. He thought about what he could do to help. Maybe I can make life better for others, he thought. It was a big idea for a young boy, but it felt right. In 1852, the McKinley family moved to Poland, Ohio, a slightly larger town. It was a new beginning. The move was hard, but it opened new doors for William. The town had a better school, and William's teachers encouraged him to keep learning. They saw his potential. One teacher told him, "You can do anything if you work hard and believe in yourself." William took those words to heart. He worked harder than ever, excelling in his studies. His parents were proud, and his siblings cheered him on. "You're going places, Will," they said. But William stayed humble. He knew success wasn't just about talent. It was about effort, kindness, and doing what was right. As William sat on the porch one evening, he watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. He felt a deep sense of peace. But he also felt a spark of ambition. The world was big, and he wanted to see it. He wanted to make his mark. He didn't know how he would do it, but he believed it was possible. Little did anyone in Niles or Poland know this quiet, thoughtful boy would one day become the leader of a great nation. For now, though, he was just William, a boy with big dreams and an even bigger heart. His journey was just beginning. Chapter 2. The Young Scholar. William McKinley loved to learn. From the time he was a little boy, books fascinated him. He loved the smell of the pages, the feel of the covers, and the stories inside. History was his favorite. He admired leaders from the past, like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin. He read about their bravery and wisdom. William dreamed of becoming like them one day. But he didn't know how. His life in Poland, Ohio, was peaceful. He went to a small school with kind teachers. They noticed how much William loved to read. He always had a book in his hand. His classmates liked him too. He was polite, gentle, and helpful. "William will go far," they often said. One day, a teacher gave William a special book about the American Revolution. William opened it carefully as if it were a treasure. The stories of battles, speeches, and freedom thrilled him. He imagined himself in those times, fighting for justice and helping others. Someday, he thought, I want to do something important. Law was another subject that interested him. He admired how lawyers used words to bring justice. Words could be powerful tools, William realized. They could inspire people to change the world. He wanted to learn how to use words wisely, just like the great leaders he read about. But life wasn't all about books. William also enjoyed spending time with his family. They often sat together after dinner, talking about the day. His father shared stories about working in the iron foundry. His mother spoke of the importance of faith and kindness. Always treat people with respect, she told William. He listened carefully. These lessons stayed with him forever. One evening, William's father said, "Son, you have a sharp mind. You could do great things." William felt proud. He wanted to make his parents happy. He promised himself he would work hard no matter what challenges came his way. Poland was a small town, but it had a good academy. William was one of the top students. He loved learning about geography, mathematics, and science. But history and law still held his heart. He often stayed up late, reading by candlelight. The flickering flame cast shadows on the walls, making the room feel magical. Outside, crickets chirped, and the world was quiet. Those were William's favorite moments. At school, William's teachers encouraged him to participate in debates. At first, he was nervous. His hands trembled, and his voice shook. But as he spoke, he found confidence. He argued his points with logic and passion. His classmates clapped. William realized he had a talent for public speaking. It felt good to share his ideas and see people listening. "William," his teacher said one day, "you have a gift. Use it wisely." Those words stayed with him. They gave him hope and courage. However, life was about to change. Trouble was brewing in the nation. In the South, tensions over slavery were rising. The North and South were divided. People argued about what was right and wrong. Newspapers were filled with stories of conflict and unrest. It was a difficult time for America. War seemed inevitable. Young William didn't fully understand what was happening, but he felt the tension. He heard adults talking in worried tones. He saw his father reading the newspaper with a serious expression. One day, his mother said, "Pray for peace, William. The country is in trouble." William nodded, but he didn't know how to help. He was just a teenager. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. William admired Lincoln. He was a man of courage and principles. Lincoln spoke about unity and freedom. William listened to his speeches and felt inspired. But Lincoln's election angered the South. States began to secede, one by one. The Union was breaking apart. The year 1861 arrived, and with it, war. The Civil War. It was a war between brothers, neighbors, and friends. The North fought to preserve the Union and end slavery. The South fought for its independence. It was a dark and painful time. William was just 18 when the war began. He was still in school, still dreaming about the future. But now everything seemed uncertain. Many young men were leaving to join the army. They wanted to fight for their beliefs. They wanted to protect their country. William felt torn. He loved his studies, but he also felt a sense of duty. Could he stay in the classroom while others risked their lives? One day, William's older brother James came home with exciting news. "I'm joining the Union Army," he announced. The family was shocked. His mother cried. His father looked worried. But James was determined. He believed in the cause. William looked up to his brother. He admired his bravery. James's decision made William think deeply about his own future. Could he do the same? Could he leave his peaceful life and face the horrors of war? For weeks, William wrestled with his thoughts. He loved his family, his school, and his quiet routines. But he also loved his country. He couldn't ignore the call to serve. Finally, he made his decision. "I'm joining too," he told his parents one evening. His mother's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "Do what you feel is right," she said softly. The next day, William walked to the recruitment office. The town square was buzzing with activity. Young men stood in line, signing up to fight. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and fear. William's heart pounded as he stepped forward. He was nervous, but determined. This was the start of a new chapter in his life. The recruiter asked William a few questions. "How old are you?" 18. "Are you ready to serve your country?" "Yes, sir." With a firm handshake, William became a soldier. He was given a uniform and instructions to report for training. He looked at the uniform with a mix of pride and uncertainty. He was leaving his family, his school, and his peaceful life behind. The night before he left, William sat with his mother on the porch. The stars sparkled above them. "I'm proud of you," she said, "but remember, stay true to who you are. Be brave, but also be kind." William nodded, his throat tight with emotion. He didn't know what the future held, but he promised himself he would follow her advice. As the sun rose the next morning, William said goodbye to his family. His mother hugged him tightly. His father patted him on the shoulder. His siblings waved and cheered. "Take care, Will," they called. William smiled, but his heart felt heavy. He was leaving everything he knew and stepping into the unknown. The young scholar was now a soldier. His days of studying books were over, for now. Ahead of him lay the challenges of war. He didn't know how long it would last or what it would cost, but he was ready to face it. William McKinley's journey was just beginning. Chapter 3: A Soldier's Courage. The Civil War had begun. It was 1861, and the United States was divided. The North and South were at war. Families were torn apart. Friends became enemies. Young men left their homes to fight. Among them was William McKinley, just 18 years old. William joined the Union Army to defend the United States. He wanted to help keep the country together. But war was a new and frightening experience. He had never held a rifle. He had never faced danger. He was just a boy from Ohio. How would he handle the challenges ahead? At first, William's duties were simple. He wasn't a soldier on the battlefield. He worked behind the scenes. He cooked meals for the troops and carried supplies. His job was to make sure the soldiers were fed and ready to fight. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was important. The days were long and exhausting. William woke before sunrise to prepare food. He worked over hot fires, stirring pots of soup and baking bread. The soldiers depended on him. Even though the work was hard, William never complained. He believed every job, big or small, mattered in the war effort. One chilly morning, William was carrying supplies to the front lines. He could hear the distant sound of gunfire. It sent shivers down his spine. The war felt far away when he was cooking, but now it was real. The soldiers he saw were dirty and tired. Some were wounded. William's heart ached for them. He wanted to do more to help. He started delivering hot coffee to soldiers in the trenches. They were cold and hungry, and the coffee lifted their spirits. "Thank you, McKinley," they would say. He always smiled and replied, "Just doing my part." His kindness didn't go unnoticed. The men began to respect him, even though he was just a private. One day, the Army faced a fierce battle in West Virginia. The fighting was intense. Cannons roared and smoke filled the air. William stayed back with the supplies, waiting for orders. Suddenly, he saw a group of soldiers retreating. They looked panicked and confused. William grabbed a cart of food and supplies and ran toward them. "Keep going," he shouted. "You're not alone." His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. He handed out food and water, giving the soldiers the strength to carry on. When the officers heard about William's bravery, they were impressed. "This young man has courage," one said. "He's not just here to serve. He's here to lead." William's confidence grew. He started taking on more responsibilities. He didn't wait for orders. He looked for ways to help. During one battle, the soldiers were running out of ammunition. Without hesitation, William loaded a wagon with bullets and gunpowder. He drove the wagon through dangerous territory to deliver the supplies. Bullets whizzed past him. The sound of explosions was deafening, but William didn't stop. He knew the soldiers were counting on him. When he reached the front lines, the men cheered. "McKinley saved the day!" they shouted. This moment changed everything for William. He realized he could make a difference, even in the toughest situations. He wasn't just a cook or a supply carrier anymore. he was a trusted member of the team. William's bravery caught the attention of his commanders. One of them was Rutherford B. Hayes, a future president of the United States. Hayes saw potential in William. "This young man has leadership in his blood," he said. Hayes began mentoring him, teaching him about strategy and decision-making. The army moved from battle to battle. The soldiers faced hunger, cold, and disease. Many of William's friends didn't survive. He mourned their loss, but kept going. He knew he had to stay strong for those who depended on him. One evening, after a long day, William sat by the campfire with his comrades. The stars twinkled above them. The men were tired but grateful to be alive. "Why did you join the army, McKinley?" one soldier asked. William thought for a moment. "To protect my country," he said, "and to make sure that one day we can all live in peace." The men nodded in agreement. They respected William's determination and heart. As the war continued, William's responsibilities grew. He became a second lieutenant, then a first lieutenant. Each promotion brought new challenges. But William faced them all with courage and humility. He never forgot his roots. He treated everyone with kindness, from the highest-ranking officer to the youngest private. The soldiers trusted him. They knew he cared about them. "McKinley is one of us," they said. "He'll never let us down." One of William's proudest moments came during the Battle of Antietam. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the war. Thousands of soldiers were wounded. William worked tirelessly, helping carry the injured to safety. He didn't think about the danger. He didn't stop to rest. He just kept going. "Every life matters," he said. His bravery earned him the admiration of his comrades and commanders alike. By the time the war ended in 1865, William had served for 4 years. He had started as a shy, inexperienced boy, but he left as a confident leader. The war had tested him in every way. It had shown him the value of teamwork, courage, and sacrifice. William returned home to Ohio with a new sense of purpose. He knew he wanted to continue serving his country. The war had changed him forever. It had made him stronger, wiser, and more determined. As he walked through the streets of his hometown, people greeted him with smiles and handshakes. "Welcome home, McKinley," they said. His family was overjoyed to see him. His mother hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. "You've grown into a fine man," she said. William smiled, feeling proud but humble. The Civil War had been a dark time in America's history, but for William McKinley, it had also been a time of growth and discovery. He had learned what it meant to be a leader. He had faced fear and overcome it. He had shown that even the quietest person can find their voice when it matters most. William's journey as a soldier was over, but his story was just beginning. What lay ahead for this young man with a heart full of courage? Only time would tell. Chapter 4. Finding His Voice. William McKinley returned home after the Civil War. He had changed. The boy who had left was now a man. He had seen the horrors of war. He had faced fear and danger. But he had also discovered courage and a sense of purpose. His family welcomed him with open arms. His mother cried tears of joy. His father smiled with pride. "You've grown, William," his father said. "The war has made you stronger." William nodded. He was proud of what he had accomplished, but he felt restless. He knew his journey wasn't over. Life in Ohio was peaceful. Too peaceful, perhaps. William missed the sense of purpose he had felt during the war. He wanted to help people, just as he had helped his fellow soldiers. But how? He didn't know. Yet. One day, a family friend visited the McKinley home. Over dinner, he spoke about the need for good leaders. "Our country is rebuilding," he said. "We need men with strong values to guide us." William listened carefully. His heart stirred. Could he be one of those men? William decided to go to law school. He believed the law was a powerful way to make a difference. Lawyers could fight for justice. They could help people in need. It was hard work, but William was determined. He moved to Albany, New York, to study. The city was big and noisy. It was nothing like the quiet towns of Niles or Poland. At first, William felt out of place, but he focused on his studies. He read thick books about laws and cases. He spent hours in the library taking notes. After graduating, William returned to Ohio and started working as a lawyer. His first office was small and simple. He didn't have many clients at first. But when people met William, they saw something special. He was kind, honest, and hard-working. They trusted him. One of his first cases involved a farmer who had been cheated by a landowner. William fought hard for the farmer. He spent hours preparing his arguments. In court, his voice was steady and clear. The jury ruled in favor of the farmer. The man shook William's hand with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "You've changed my life." Moments like this inspired William. He realized he could use his skills to help others, but he wanted to do more. He wanted to serve not just one person, but his whole community. In 1869, William ran for a local government position. It was his first step into politics. At first, he was nervous. Speaking in front of crowds was harder than speaking in court. His voice trembled and his hands shook. But he didn't give up. With each speech, he grew more confident. He learned how to connect with people. He spoke about fairness, justice, and hope. He listened to their concerns and promised to fight for them. Slowly, people began to trust him. One evening, after a campaign event, an elderly man approached William. "Young man," he said, "you speak with heart. We need leaders like you." William felt a surge of pride. He was finding his voice. William won the election. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to him. He worked hard to improve life for the people in his town. He helped pass laws that supported farmers and workers. He earned a reputation as someone who cared about ordinary people. But William didn't stop there. He dreamed of making an even bigger impact. In 1876, he ran for Congress. It was a bold move for someone so young. Many people doubted him. "He's too quiet," they said. "He's not strong enough for Washington." William didn't let the criticism stop him. He traveled across Ohio, giving speeches and meeting voters. He spoke about unity and progress. His words were simple, but they came from the heart. People listened. They believed in him. On election night, William waited anxiously for the results. When he heard he had won, he couldn't believe it. "You did it!" his friends shouted. William smiled, but he felt the weight of responsibility. He knew this was just the beginning. In Washington, William worked tirelessly. He fought for fair taxes and better working conditions. He often spoke in Congress, though he wasn't the loudest voice in the room. But when he spoke, people listened. His quiet determination stood out. One of William's most memorable moments came during a heated debate about tariffs. Tariffs were taxes on goods from other countries. Some believed they were necessary to protect American workers. Others thought they hurt the economy. The debate was intense. William stood up to speak. The room fell silent. He explained his position with logic and passion. He spoke about the struggles of factory workers and farmers. "We must protect the people who build this nation," he said. When he finished, there was applause. Even his opponents admired his courage. As the years passed, William became one of the most respected members of Congress. He never shouted or argued. Instead, he listened, learned, and spoke with conviction. His colleagues called him the gentleman from Ohio. Despite his success, William remained humble. He often returned to Ohio to visit his family and friends. He never forgot where he came from. He believed that true leaders served the people, not themselves. One evening, after a long day in Congress, William sat alone in his office. He thought about his journey. From a young boy in Niles to a soldier in the Civil War. From a small-town lawyer to a congressman. He felt grateful for the opportunities he had been given, but he also felt a deep sense of responsibility. "I must do more," he thought. "There is so much work to be done." William's speeches became more powerful over time. He learned how to inspire hope and bring people together. At a rally in Ohio, he said, "Our strength lies in unity. Together, we can overcome any challenge." The crowd erupted in cheers. After the event, a young boy approached William. "I want to be like you someday," the boy said. William knelt down and smiled. "Work hard, be honest, and never give up," he said. William McKinley had found his voice. He had become a leader, but his journey was far from over. Ahead of him lay even greater challenges and even greater opportunities. What would the future hold for this quiet, determined man from Ohio? Only time would tell. Chapter 5. The Congressman Who Cared. In 1876, William McKinley became a congressman. He was just 33 years old. The people of Ohio believed in him. They saw him as a man of integrity. He cared about their struggles. He understood their needs. Farmers worked long hours in the fields. Factory workers toiled in dangerous conditions. Many earned little money. Life was hard, but William promised to fight for them. He wanted to give them a voice in Washington. When William arrived in Congress, he felt both excitement and fear. The grand halls of the Capitol were impressive. The debates were intense. He was surrounded by experienced politicians. But William wasn't afraid to speak up. At first, he listened. He observed how others spoke. He studied the issues. Then, when the time was right, he stood up. His voice was calm but firm. He spoke about fairness and justice. His words were simple but powerful. People began to notice him. One of the first issues William tackled was tariffs. Tariffs were taxes on goods imported from other countries. They protected American businesses, but made some goods more expensive. Farmers and factory workers relied on these businesses. Without tariffs, they could lose their jobs. William defended tariffs with passion. He argued that they were necessary to protect American workers. "We must stand up for the people who build this country," he said. His words resonated, but not everyone agreed with him. Some thought tariffs hurt trade and the economy. The debates were heated. William faced criticism from rivals. They called him inexperienced. They said he didn't understand economics. One day, a rival congressman mocked William during a debate. The man raised his voice and pointed a finger. "McKinley, you're just a small-town politician," he sneered. The room fell silent. William paused, then spoke calmly. "I may be from a small town," he said, "but I know the value of hard work. I know what the people need." The room erupted in applause. William had stayed composed. He had won respect. William worked tirelessly for his constituents. He visited farmers to learn about their struggles. He walked through factories to see the conditions firsthand. He listened to their stories. He cared deeply. One winter, a factory in Ohio closed down. Hundreds of workers lost their jobs. Families struggled to afford food and coal for heat. William visited the town. He met with the workers and their families. "I'll fight for you," he promised. Back in Congress, he spoke passionately about their plight. He called for better wages and safer working conditions. His efforts didn't always lead to immediate change, but people appreciated his dedication. Politics, however, was not always kind. Rivals tried to tarnish William's reputation. They accused him of favoritism. They spread rumors. They said he cared only about factory owners, not the poor. William didn't let the attacks stop him. He stayed focused. "The truth will prevail," he told his supporters. His calm determination inspired others. One of William's greatest challenges came during the Panic of 1877. The economy was in crisis. Businesses closed, banks failed, unemployment soared. People were angry. They wanted answers. William organized town meetings to hear their concerns. He encouraged people to speak up. "We're in this together," he said. "We'll find a way forward." His optimism gave people hope. But in Washington, the debates were fierce. Some politicians wanted to cut programs that helped workers and farmers. William argued against them. "We can't abandon the people in their time of need," he said. His persistence paid off. Congress passed measures to support struggling families. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a step forward. William's efforts earned him the nickname the Champion of the Working Man. Farmers and factory workers admired him. They saw him as one of their own. "McKinley understands us," they said. But William knew his work was far from over. Every new challenge brought new opportunities to serve. He believed in progress, even if it came slowly. One evening after a long day in Congress, William wrote a letter to his wife, Ida. "It's not easy," he wrote, "but I feel I'm doing what's right. The people's trust means everything to me." Ida was William's greatest supporter. She believed in him when others doubted him. She often reminded him to take care of himself. "You can't help others if you're worn out," she said. William smiled and promised to rest, though he rarely kept that promise. William's dedication sometimes took a toll on his health. The long hours and constant pressure were exhausting. But he pushed through. He knew the people were counting on him. In 1882, William faced re-election. His rivals campaigned aggressively. They criticized his support for tariffs. They called him out of touch. But William stayed focused on his message. He visited towns and farms across Ohio. He shook hands, gave speeches, and listened to concerns. "I work for you," he told voters. "Together, we can build a better future." On election night, William waited nervously for the results. When he heard he had won, he felt a wave of relief. The people still believed in him. As the years passed, William's influence in Congress grew. He served on important committees. He worked on laws to improve education and public health. He continued to fight for workers' rights. One of his proudest achievements was a bill that provided pensions for Civil War veterans. William had never forgotten his time as a soldier. He knew how much veterans had sacrificed. When the bill passed, a group of veterans visited his office to thank him. One of them shook his hand firmly and said, "You've honored us, Congressman McKinley. We'll never forget it." Despite his successes, William remained humble. He often reflected on his journey. He remembered the boy from Niles, Ohio, who had dreamed of making a difference. Now he was doing it. But he also knew he couldn't do it alone. "It's the people who inspire me," he often said. "Their strength gives me strength." William McKinley's years in Congress were marked by hard work and determination. He faced criticism and challenges, but he never gave up. He believed in the power of kindness, fairness, and persistence. He had found his calling. He wasn't just a politician, he was a servant of the people, and he was ready for whatever came next. Before we begin, Chapter 6, a quick note for our listeners. You're currently listening to this audiobook on Woo English. Remember, this content is specially made for Woo English listeners only. If you're hearing it on any other channel, it may be a violation of Woo English's rights. Please ensure you're tuned into the right source to fully enjoy and respect this audiobook journey. Now, let's continue the story. Chapter 6. A Governor with a Plan. In 1891, William McKinley became the governor of Ohio. It was a proud moment. His journey from a small-town boy to a leader of his state had been long and full of challenges. As he stood before a cheering crowd on the day of his inauguration, William smiled. "The people deserve a better life," he said. "I will do my best to serve you all." The people believed him. They trusted his honesty and strength. But being a governor would not be easy. Ohio faced many problems. Workers struggled with low wages. Farmers faced rising debts. Business owners wanted fewer taxes. It seemed impossible to make everyone happy. William had a vision. He believed in fairness for everyone, rich and poor alike. "A strong state is built on strong people," he often said. He wanted to improve schools, protect workers, and help businesses grow. But how could he do it all? One of his first challenges as governor was dealing with strikes. In the 1890s, workers were fighting for better pay and conditions. Factory owners refused to listen. Workers stopped working and protested in the streets. The strikes sometimes turned violent. William believed in finding peaceful solutions. He brought workers and business owners together to talk. "We must listen to each other," he said. His calm, firm voice often eased the tension. Though the problems didn't disappear, people appreciated his efforts. William also focused on education. He believed that schools were the key to a better future. "Every child deserves the chance to learn," he said. He pushed for laws to build more schools and hire better teachers. One day, William visited a small, rural school. The building was old and cold. The children sat on wooden benches, sharing books. William's heart ached. He knelt down to speak to the children. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" he asked. "A teacher," one girl said. "A doctor," said another. William smiled. "With hard work, you can achieve anything," he told them. He left the school more determined than ever to improve education in Ohio. Taxes were another big issue. Business owners complained they were paying too much. Farmers felt the same way. William knew he had to be careful. Raising taxes could anger the rich. Cutting taxes too much could hurt the state. He worked with lawmakers to find a balance. He made sure schools and public services had enough funding. At the same time, he helped businesses grow by lowering certain taxes. It wasn't easy, but William believed in compromise. William's speeches became famous. He spoke clearly and passionately. His words inspired hope. "Ohio is strong," he said at one rally, "but together we can make it even stronger." Crowds cheered. People left his speeches feeling optimistic about the future. One evening, after a long day of meetings, William returned home. His wife, Ida, was waiting for him. She had prepared his favorite meal. "You work so hard," she said gently. William smiled. "I do it for the people," he replied. But even he knew he couldn't solve every problem. One of William's biggest challenges came during an economic crisis in 1893. Businesses closed. Banks failed. Thousands of people lost their jobs. The streets were filled with desperate families. They looked to their governor for help. William acted quickly. He worked with charities to provide food and shelter for those in need. he pushed for public works projects, like building roads and bridges. These projects created jobs. Though the crisis was difficult, William's leadership gave people hope. Not everyone supported William's ideas. His political opponents criticized him. They said he was trying to do too much. They accused him of favoring certain groups. Some even questioned his honesty. But William stayed focused. He didn't let the negativity distract him. "My job is to serve the people," he said, "not to win everyone's approval." His calm, steady approach earned him respect, even from his critics. One of William's proudest moments as governor came during the celebration of Ohio's 100th anniversary. The state organized a large event in Columbus. People from all over Ohio attended. There were parades, speeches, and fireworks. William gave a speech that day. He spoke about Ohio's history, its struggles, and its successes. "This state has always been strong," he said, "and it will remain strong because of its people." The crowd erupted in applause. Despite his busy schedule, William never forgot his roots. He often visited his hometown of Niles. He enjoyed walking through the streets, greeting old friends. "You haven't changed, William," one neighbor said during a visit. William laughed. "Neither has Niles," he replied. These visits reminded him why he worked so hard. He wanted to make life better for people like those in his hometown. He wanted every child to have the opportunities he had been given. William's time as governor wasn't perfect. Not every plan worked. Not every law passed. But he never stopped trying. His determination inspired others. In 1893, a journalist interviewed William about his goals. "What motivates you?" she asked. William thought for a moment. Then he said, "I believe in the people of Ohio. Their strength and courage inspire me. I simply want to serve them." By the end of his second term in 1895, William had become one of Ohio's most respected leaders. He had faced criticism and challenges, but he had never given up. He had worked tirelessly to improve the lives of Ohioans. On his last day as governor, William stood in his office, looking out the window. The streets below were bustling with life. He felt a deep sense of gratitude. "It's been an honor to serve," he said softly. William McKinley's time as governor prepared him for the challenges ahead. He had learned how to lead with fairness and strength. He had shown that even in difficult times, hope and hard work could bring change. What lay ahead for William McKinley? The answer would soon come. Chapter 7. The Road to the White House. The year was 1896. America was at a crossroads. The country was deeply divided. Cities were growing rapidly, but life in the countryside was difficult. Wealthy business owners prospered, but farmers and factory workers struggled. The gap between the rich and the poor seemed impossible to bridge. William McKinley watched all this with concern. He had spent years serving the people of Ohio. Now, he felt ready to serve the entire nation. He decided to run for president. His message was clear: peace and prosperity for all Americans. Running for president was no small task. William knew he would face challenges. His opponent, William Jennings Bryan, was a powerful speaker. Bryan's speeches were fiery and passionate. He called for major changes to the economy. He promised to help struggling farmers and workers. Many people believed him. William's approach was different. He believed in steady, thoughtful leadership. He didn't make wild promises. Instead, he focused on what he knew could work. The people need hope, he said, but they also need stability. William's campaign was unique. Unlike other candidates, he didn't travel across the country giving speeches. Instead, he stayed in his hometown of Canton, Ohio. He called it the Front Porch Campaign. Supporters came to him. They traveled from all over the country to hear him speak. Crowds gathered in front of his house, cheering and waving flags. William stood on his porch, speaking calmly and confidently. "The future of America is bright," he said at one gathering, "but we must work together to achieve it." His words inspired hope. People left feeling encouraged. The Front Porch Campaign became famous. Newspapers wrote about it. People shared stories of their visits to Canton. It felt personal, almost like a conversation with a friend. One farmer who visited said, "McKinley speaks like he understands us. He's not shouting or making empty promises. He's real." William's wife, Ida, often watched these gatherings from a window. She was proud of her husband. Despite her struggles with health, she supported him in every way she could. William's opponent, Bryan, took a different approach. He traveled thousands of miles, giving speeches in towns and cities across America. His words were passionate and dramatic. He spoke of change and revolution. Bryan's message resonated with many people. Farmers who were in debt and workers who felt abandoned by the system saw him as a savior. But others worried that his ideas were too extreme. The campaign became a battle of ideas. William represented stability and progress. Bryan represented dramatic change. The country was divided. Newspapers and posters were filled with arguments for and against each candidate. One day, William met with a group of farmers on his porch. They were worried about losing their farms. William listened carefully. Then he said, "I promise to work for you. Together, we can build a better economy, one that helps everyone, not just the rich." His words brought tears to one farmer's eyes. "Thank you," the man said. "You give us hope." As the election drew closer, the tension grew. Both candidates worked tirelessly. Bryan gave more speeches. William wrote more letters and met with more visitors. One of William's key supporters was Mark Hanna, a wealthy businessman and political strategist. Hanna believed in William's vision. He helped organize the campaign and raised funds, but some criticized Hanna's involvement. They accused William of relying too much on big business. William defended himself. "I believe in fairness," he said. "Rich or poor, every voice matters." On election night, the nation held its breath. The results came in slowly. Crowds gathered outside newspaper offices, waiting for updates. In Canton, William and Ida stayed up late, listening to reports. Finally, the news arrived. William McKinley had won. He would be the 25th President of the United States. The victory was overwhelming. William received more votes than any candidate in decades. People across the country celebrated. They believed he would bring peace and prosperity. When William stepped outside to thank his supporters, the crowd erupted in cheers. "You've made history!" someone shouted. William smiled humbly. "No," he said, "we've made history together." Becoming president was a dream come true, but William knew the hard work was just beginning. The country was still divided. He needed to unite the people and deliver on his promises. He reflected on his journey. From a young boy in Niles, Ohio, to a soldier in the Civil War, to governor, and now, president. It had been a long road, but he was ready. Ida stood by his side. She had always believed in him. "You'll be a great president," she said softly. William squeezed her hand. He knew her faith in him was one of his greatest strengths. In his inaugural address, William spoke about unity. "We are stronger together," he said. "Let us work for a future where every American has a chance to succeed." His words inspired hope. The challenges ahead were enormous. The economy needed rebuilding. Foreign relations were fragile. But William was determined to face these challenges with courage and wisdom. He believed in America. He believed in its people. And he believed that together they could achieve greatness. The Front Porch Campaign had been a gamble, but it worked. It showed the country that William McKinley was not just a politician. He was a leader who listened, who cared, and who understood the struggles of everyday Americans. The road to the White House had been long and difficult. But William McKinley had proven that with hard work, honesty, and determination, anything was possible. His presidency would soon bring even greater challenges and even greater opportunities. What lay ahead for this quiet, determined man? Only time would tell. Chapter 8. The President of Prosperity. In 1897, William McKinley took the oath of office. He was now the 25th President of the United States. The crowd cheered as he stood on the steps of the Capitol. His voice was steady as he spoke. "I promise to serve all Americans," he said. "Rich and poor, young and old. Together, we will build a brighter future." The country was ready for change. The economy had suffered in the years before McKinley's presidency. Factories had closed. Banks had failed. Many families had struggled to survive. But McKinley believed in the power of hope and hard work. His first goal was to fix the economy. He supported protective tariffs, taxes on goods from other countries. These tariffs made American products more competitive. Factories began reopening. Jobs returned. Workers felt a sense of pride again. One factory owner wrote to McKinley saying, "Because of your leadership, my workers are back on their feet. Thank you." McKinley read letters like this often. They reminded him of the people he served. The president also focused on modernizing the nation. He worked to improve railroads and other infrastructure. He wanted the United States to compete with the strongest nations in the world. "Our country is growing," he said. "We must be ready for the future." In Washington, McKinley's calm leadership won him respect. He was known for listening carefully and making thoughtful decisions. Even his opponents admired his ability to unite people. But challenges lay ahead. Across the ocean, in Cuba, trouble was brewing. The island was a colony of Spain. For years, Cuban rebels had been fighting for independence. The Spanish government responded harshly. Reports of violence and suffering reached the United States. Americans were horrified. Newspapers published stories about the cruelty in Cuba. "We must help," some cried. Others warned against getting involved. McKinley was torn. He wanted to help the Cuban people, but he also wanted to avoid war. In February 1898, tragedy struck. The U.S. battleship Maine, stationed in Havana Harbor, exploded. Over 260 American sailors died. No one knew for sure what caused the explosion. Some believed it was an accident. Others blamed Spain. The news shocked the nation. "Remember the Maine" became a rallying cry. People demanded action. McKinley faced enormous pressure. "We must remain calm," he said. But he knew the situation was growing more dangerous by the day. In April 1898, McKinley asked Congress to declare war on Spain. He called it a war for peace. The goal was to help Cuba gain independence. Congress agreed. The Spanish-American War had begun. The war was short but intense. American forces fought in Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. Soldiers and sailors faced harsh conditions, but they fought bravely. McKinley worked tirelessly to support the troops. He sent messages of encouragement and made sure they had the supplies they needed. One of the war's most famous battles was the Battle of San Juan Hill. Future President Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders played a key role. Their bravery inspired the nation. By August 1898, the war was over. Spain surrendered. Cuba was free. Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines became U.S. territories. The United States had emerged as a global power. McKinley's leadership during the war earned him widespread praise. But he didn't celebrate the victory for long. He knew the nation faced new challenges. How should the United States govern its new territories? How could the country balance its growing power with its principles of freedom and justice? McKinley believed in fairness. He wanted to ensure that the people in these territories were treated with respect. "We have a responsibility," he said. "We must use our power wisely." At home, McKinley continued to focus on the economy. He encouraged innovation and supported businesses. The country entered a period of growth and prosperity. People began to call him the President of Prosperity. One day, while visiting a factory, McKinley spoke to a group of workers. "Your hard work builds this nation," he said. "Together, we are creating a future full of opportunity." The workers cheered. They felt proud to have a president who understood their struggles. McKinley's popularity grew. He became a symbol of hope and stability. His calm, steady leadership reassured people during uncertain times. Even those who had doubted him began to admire his dedication. But McKinley remained humble. He often said, "I am here to serve, not to be served." He spent his evenings reading letters from citizens, always looking for ways to help. In 1900, McKinley ran for re-election. His opponent was again William Jennings Bryan. This time, Bryan's message focused on anti-imperialism. He argued that the United States should not control other countries. McKinley defended his policies. He believed the United States had a duty to lead responsibly. "We seek to lift others up," he said, "not to dominate them." His message resonated with voters. The election was a landslide. McKinley won a second term. His victory was a sign that the people trusted his leadership. As McKinley began his second term, the future looked bright. The economy was strong. The country was at peace. McKinley believed America's best days were still ahead. In one of his speeches, he said, "Our nation stands as a beacon of hope. Let us continue to work together for the good of all." His words inspired the nation. But even in times of prosperity, danger can strike. McKinley's leadership had guided the nation through war and economic hardship, yet unseen challenges lay ahead. Would he be ready? William McKinley had proven himself as a leader. He had brought peace, prosperity, and hope to America. But his story was not over. The next chapter of his life would test him in ways he could never have imagined. Chapter 9. War and Victory. The year was 1898. Tensions with Spain had reached a breaking point. For years, the Cuban people had fought for independence. They wanted freedom from Spanish rule. Reports of cruelty and violence shocked Americans. President William McKinley tried to keep the peace. He hoped to avoid war. But then, in February, disaster struck. The U.S. battleship Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. More than 260 sailors lost their lives. The cause of the explosion was unclear, but many blamed Spain. "Remember the Maine!" became a rallying cry. People demanded action. McKinley felt the pressure. He wanted to protect American honor. He also wanted to help Cuba. In April 1898, after careful thought, he asked Congress to declare war. His voice was steady but firm. "We must fight for peace," he said. Congress agreed. The Spanish-American War had begun. The war was short but intense. Battles were fought on land and sea. American troops headed to Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. The soldiers faced heat, disease, and tough conditions. Supplies were limited. The enemy was strong. But McKinley worked hard to support the troops. In Washington, McKinley stayed up late into the night, reading reports from the front lines. He sent messages of encouragement to the generals. He ensured that food, weapons, and medicine were delivered to the soldiers. His calm leadership gave the country confidence. One of the first major victories came in the Philippines. In May, the U.S. Navy, led by Commodore George Dewey, defeated the Spanish fleet at Manila Bay. It was a stunning success. Not a single American ship was lost. When McKinley heard the news, he smiled with relief. "Our Navy has made us proud," he said. But he knew the war was far from over. There were still battles to fight in Cuba and Puerto Rico. In Cuba, the fighting was fierce. The heat was unbearable, and disease spread quickly. Yellow fever and malaria killed more soldiers than bullets. Despite the hardships, the troops showed courage. One of the most famous battles was the Battle of San Juan Hill. Future President Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders led the charge. With bravery and determination, they secured an important victory. Roosevelt's name became known across the nation. McKinley admired the soldiers' bravery. He made sure their efforts were recognized. "These men have shown what it means to be American," he said. "Their courage will not be forgotten." The war lasted only a few months. By August 1898, Spain had surrendered. The Treaty of Paris, signed later that year, ended the conflict. It was a moment of triumph for the United States. Under the treaty, Cuba gained its independence. Spain also gave up Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the United States. For the first time, America held territories far from its borders. The victory was celebrated across the country. Parades were held in cities and towns. Flags waved in the streets. People cheered for the soldiers and their president. "McKinley led us to victory," they shouted. But McKinley was not one to celebrate for long. He thought about the lives lost in the war. He thought about the future of the new territories. "Victory brings responsibility," he said. "We must use our power wisely." In the Philippines, resistance to American rule grew. Many Filipinos wanted independence, just like Cuba. McKinley faced a difficult decision. He believed the Philippines were not ready to govern themselves. He also worried that another country, like Germany or Japan, might take control of the islands. McKinley decided the United States would govern the Philippines for now. He promised to improve their education, infrastructure, and economy. But the decision was controversial. Critics accused McKinley of imperialism. They said America should not control other nations. At home, McKinley faced these criticisms with calm determination. "We seek to lift others up, not to dominate them," he said. He believed the United States had a duty to help its new territories. In Puerto Rico and Guam, American rule was established more peacefully. McKinley worked to ensure these territories were treated fairly. He wanted their people to benefit from being part of the United States. The war changed America's place in the world. For the first time, the United States was a global power. Its navy was respected. Its economy was growing. Other nations began to take notice. McKinley understood the importance of this moment. "We have a responsibility to lead," he said, "but we must lead with wisdom and justice." One evening, after the war had ended, McKinley sat with his wife, Ida, in the White House. The room was quiet. Outside, the city buzzed with activity. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Ida asked softly. McKinley thought for a moment. "I believe we acted with good intentions," he said. "But history will judge us. All we can do is try to do what's right." Despite the challenges, McKinley remained focused on his goal, creating a better future for all Americans. He believed in progress, unity, and hope. The Spanish-American War was over, but its impact would be felt for years. It had tested McKinley's leadership. It had changed the nation, and it had set the stage for America's role in the world. For William McKinley, the victory was bittersweet. He had led the nation through war and brought peace, but he knew there was still much work to do. As he looked ahead, he felt a deep sense of responsibility. "The world is watching," he said. "We must not fail." The Spanish-American War marked a turning point in American history. It showed that the United States could stand among the world's great powers. Under McKinley's leadership, the nation had faced its challenges with courage and determination. But McKinley's story was far from over. Greater challenges and greater trials lay ahead. Chapter 10. Tragedy Strikes. The year was 1901. William McKinley was at the height of his presidency. The country was thriving. The economy was strong. People felt hopeful about the future. McKinley was loved by many. He was seen as a calm, steady leader. In September, McKinley traveled to Buffalo, New York. He was attending the Pan American Exposition, a grand event that celebrated progress and innovation. The exposition was filled with wonders: electric lights, new machinery, and exhibits from around the world. McKinley was excited to be there. On September 6th, McKinley gave a speech at the exposition. Thousands of people gathered to hear him. His words were full of hope. "The future is bright," he said. The crowd cheered. After the speech, McKinley went to the Temple of Music, a beautiful building on the exposition grounds. There, he planned to meet the public. He enjoyed shaking hands with citizens and hearing their stories. The line of people waiting to meet McKinley was long. Men, women, and children stood patiently, eager for a moment with their president. McKinley smiled warmly as he greeted each person. But among the crowd was a man with dark intentions. His name was Leon Czolgosz. He was an anarchist who believed that leaders like McKinley were enemies of the people. Hidden in his hand was a revolver, wrapped in a handkerchief. As Czolgosz approached, McKinley extended his hand. Before the president could speak, 2 gunshots rang out. The crowd froze. McKinley staggered backward, his face pale. Blood spread across his shirt. People screamed. Security officers tackled Czolgosz to the ground. "He's been shot," someone shouted. Chaos erupted in the room. McKinley was rushed to a nearby hospital. Doctors worked quickly to remove the bullet. But medical tools in 1901 were limited. The second bullet could not be found. The doctors did their best, but they worried about infection. News of the shooting spread quickly. People across the country were shocked. Crowds gathered outside the hospital, waiting for updates. Newspapers printed extra editions. Headlines read, "President McKinley shot." For 8 days, the nation prayed. Churches held special services. Families lit candles in their homes. People wept in the streets. Everyone hoped their beloved president would recover. At first, McKinley seemed to improve. He was awake and able to speak. His wife, Ida, stayed by his side. She held his hand and whispered words of comfort. "You're so strong," she told him. McKinley smiled weakly. "God's will be done," he replied. Doctors remained cautious. They knew the risk of infection was high. In those days, antibiotics did not exist. Even a small wound could become deadly. Still, they tried to stay optimistic. McKinley's friends and advisors visited him. He asked about the country and wanted updates on government matters. Despite his condition, he was still thinking about the people he served. But on September 13th, McKinley's condition worsened. Infection had set in. His body grew weaker. The doctors did everything they could, but there was little hope. That evening, McKinley spoke his final words. "It is God's way," he said. "His will be done." His voice was calm, even in his last moments. On September 14, 1901, William McKinley passed away. He was 58 years old. When the news broke, the nation was overcome with grief. People cried openly in the streets. Flags were lowered to half-staff. Businesses closed in mourning. "We have lost a great man," one newspaper wrote. McKinley's body was taken back to Washington, D.C., where a funeral was held. Thousands of people came to pay their respects. They lined the streets, their heads bowed in silence. From Washington, McKinley's body was transported to his hometown of Canton, Ohio. The train carrying his coffin passed through small towns and big cities. Along the way, people gathered by the tracks. They held flowers and waved flags. Many wept as the train passed. In Canton, McKinley was laid to rest. His wife, Ida, was heartbroken. Friends and family comforted her as best they could. They reminded her of the love and respect the nation had for her husband. McKinley's assassination shocked the world. It raised questions about security for leaders and the dangers of political extremism. People wondered how such a tragedy could happen in a country that valued democracy and peace. But McKinley's legacy lived on. He was remembered as a president who cared deeply about the people. He had guided the nation through war and prosperity. He had worked tirelessly to unite a divided country. In the months following McKinley's death, memorials were built in his honor. Schools, parks, and public buildings were named after him. His face appeared on coins and stamps. He was not forgotten. One of his closest friends said, "McKinley's life was a testament to kindness, courage, and duty. He served his country with all his heart." The tragedy of William McKinley's death reminded the nation of the fragility of life. But it also inspired people to continue his work. His belief in fairness, unity, and progress became a guiding light for future leaders. As the years passed, McKinley's legacy endured. He was remembered not just for what he accomplished, but for the way he led, with dignity, humility, and grace. The story of William McKinley is one of triumph and tragedy. From his humble beginnings to his rise as president, he showed that true leadership comes from the heart. Even in the face of adversity, he remained a symbol of hope and strength. Though his life was cut short, his impact on the nation was lasting, and his memory lives on, reminding us of the power of perseverance and the importance of serving others. Chapter 11. A Nation Mourns. On September 14, 1901, President William McKinley passed away. The news spread quickly. Across the nation, people wept. Many couldn't believe it. Their beloved leader was gone. McKinley's final words echoed in their hearts. "It is God's way. His will be done." These words showed his faith and acceptance, even in his final moments. They gave comfort to some, but the pain of loss was deep. In Washington, D.C., flags flew at half-staff. Government buildings were silent. The streets felt empty. People gathered in churches to pray and remember the president. Ministers spoke of McKinley's kindness and strength. He was a leader who cared for all, one said. Businesses closed their doors. Schools held special ceremonies. In small towns and big cities, Americans paused their daily lives to honor the president. It was a time of shared grief. McKinley's body lay in state in Washington. Thousands came to pay their respects. The line stretched for blocks. People stood in silence, waiting for their turn to say goodbye. One man, holding his young son's hand, whispered, "He was a good man. Remember him." His son nodded, though he didn't fully understand. McKinley had been more than a president. To many, he was a symbol of hope and unity. The funeral was held in the Capitol. The room was filled with flowers. Their sweet scent mixed with the quiet sounds of mourning. McKinley's wife, Ida, sat near the casket. She was pale and fragile, supported by close friends. As the service began, hymns filled the air. Tears streamed down faces. A minister spoke of McKinley's dedication to the nation. "He gave his life for his country," he said. "His legacy will endure." After the service, McKinley's body was taken by train to his hometown of Canton, Ohio. Along the journey, people lined the tracks to say goodbye. They held flags and flowers. Some knelt and prayed as the train passed. In one small town, an elderly woman wiped her tears. "I never met him," she said, "but he felt like a friend." Nearby, a group of school children waved American flags. Their teacher explained, "We honor him because he believed in a better future for all of us." In Canton, McKinley was laid to rest. The cemetery was quiet, surrounded by trees and flowers. Ida stayed close to the casket, her grief visible. Friends and family comforted her. They reminded her of the love the nation had for her husband. At the gravesite, a final prayer was said. The words carried a message of hope and remembrance. "Let us not forget his service, his kindness, and his faith," the minister said. Across the country, memorials were held in McKinley's honor. In New York, a massive crowd gathered in a city square. Flags were draped in black. A speaker described McKinley as a man of the people. In Chicago, workers paused their shifts to attend a service. Many remembered how McKinley had fought for fair wages and better jobs. "He cared about us," one worker said. "He understood our struggles." Children were taught about McKinley in schools. Teachers spoke of his humble beginnings, his service in the Civil War, and his rise to the presidency. They shared stories of his calm leadership and unwavering faith. In one classroom, a teacher held up a picture of McKinley. "What do we learn from his life?" she asked. A young girl raised her hand. "That we can all make a difference," she said softly. McKinley's death also raised questions. How could such a tragedy happen? Many wondered how to prevent future assassinations. Security for leaders became a national priority. People debated how to protect democracy from violence and hate. But even amid these questions, McKinley's legacy shone brightly. He was remembered as a leader who united the nation. He brought peace during times of division. He showed that kindness and strength could go hand in hand. One newspaper wrote, "William McKinley was more than a president. He was a symbol of America's best values, faith, courage, and hope." Memorials were built to honor him. Schools, parks, and libraries bore his name. A grand memorial was constructed in Canton, Ohio. It became a place where people could learn about his life and achievements. The McKinley National Memorial was a testament to his legacy. Visitors walked through its halls, reading about his journey. They saw artifacts from his life, his Civil War uniform, his speeches, and letters he wrote to Ida. One visitor, a young boy, stared at a statue of McKinley. "He looks strong," he said. His father nodded. "He was strong," he replied, "but also kind. That's what made him great." In the years that followed, McKinley's leadership continued to inspire. Presidents who came after him looked to his example. They admired his calm during crises and his ability to unite people. The Spanish-American War had made America a global power. McKinley had guided the nation through that moment with wisdom. His belief in fairness and progress shaped the country's future. Even Ida, despite her grief, found comfort in her husband's legacy. She often spoke of his faith and dedication. "He loved this nation," she said, "and he loved its people." McKinley's story reminded Americans of what was possible. He had risen from humble beginnings to lead the country. His life showed that integrity and hard work could achieve great things. As the years passed, McKinley's memory remained alive. His name was spoken with respect. His story was told to new generations. He had faced challenges with courage. He had led with kindness and strength. And even in death, he brought the nation together. The nation mourned deeply for William McKinley, but it also celebrated his life. He had shown what it meant to be a leader, and his legacy would never be forgotten. Chapter 12. The Legacy Lives On. William McKinley's life ended too soon, but his legacy lived on. His leadership, kindness, and vision left a lasting mark on the United States. People remembered him not just as a president, but as a man of integrity. McKinley believed in unity. He worked to bring people together during divided times. He believed in fairness. His policies aimed to help workers, farmers, and businesses alike. and he believed in progress. He supported innovation and growth, preparing the country for the future. After his death, the nation honored him in many ways. Schools, parks, and streets were named after him. Statues were built in his memory. These monuments reminded people of his contributions to America. In Canton, Ohio, the McKinley National Memorial was built. It was a grand structure, surrounded by trees and gardens. Inside, visitors could learn about McKinley's life. His speeches, photographs, and personal items were displayed. The memorial became a place of reflection and inspiration. One of the most famous honors was the renaming of Mount McKinley. Located in Alaska, it was the tallest mountain in North America. Explorers admired its towering peaks. Naming the mountain after McKinley symbolized his high ideals and strong character. For years, Mount McKinley stood as a tribute to the president. Later, its name would return to Denali, honoring the native Alaskan name. But for decades, it carried McKinley's legacy to the sky. Across the country, people shared stories about McKinley. Parents told their children how he had risen from humble beginnings to lead a nation. Teachers used his life as an example of perseverance and hard work. In a small school in Ohio, a teacher once asked her students, "What can we learn from President McKinley?" A boy raised his hand. "That we can do great things if we try our best," he said. McKinley's presidency was a turning point for the United States. Under his leadership, the country became a global power. The Spanish-American War had changed America's role in the world. New territories, like Puerto Rico and Guam, expanded the nation's influence. But McKinley didn't seek power for its own sake. He believed in using it responsibly. He wanted to help others and promote peace. "Power is a tool," he once said. "It must be used with wisdom." The economy also grew during McKinley's time in office. Factories reopened, jobs returned, workers felt hope for the future. McKinley's policies, like protective tariffs, helped strengthen American industries. Farmers, too, benefited from his leadership. McKinley understood their struggles. He worked to create policies that supported them. He believed in lifting up all Americans, no matter where they lived or what work they did. McKinley's focus on unity was perhaps his greatest legacy. He believed that Americans were stronger together. During times of division, he called for peace and understanding. His calm, steady voice reassured the nation. One of his most famous speeches ended with the words, "Let us move forward as one people, with one purpose, to build a brighter future." These words became a guiding principle for many who followed him. Even after his death, McKinley's influence shaped the country. Presidents who came after him admired his leadership. They looked to his example during times of crisis. Theodore Roosevelt, who succeeded McKinley, spoke of him often. "He was a man of great heart," Roosevelt said. "His legacy will guide us for generations." For McKinley's wife, Ida, his memory was a source of strength. She kept his belongings close and spoke of him often. Despite her grief, she found comfort in knowing how much he was loved by the nation. "He believed in kindness and service," she once said. "That is how he lived, and that is how he is remembered." Over time, new challenges arose for the nation. The world changed, and history marched forward. But McKinley's values, unity, fairness, and progress, remained relevant. People continued to visit the McKinley National Memorial. They read his speeches and learned about his life. They were reminded that even the humblest beginnings can lead to greatness. McKinley's story inspired generations. It showed that true leadership comes from the heart. It taught that hard work, honesty, and faith can overcome any obstacle. One young girl, visiting the memorial with her parents, looked up at McKinley's statue. "He looks strong," she said. Her mother nodded. "He was strong," she replied, "but he was also kind. That's what made him special." In small towns and big cities, McKinley's name lived on. It became a symbol of hope and determination. His legacy reminded people that one person could make a difference. Years after his death, a journalist wrote, "William McKinley showed us the power of quiet strength. He led with humility and purpose, and he left the nation better than he found it." Today, McKinley's legacy continues to inspire. His life is a reminder that greatness isn't about power or wealth. It's about service, compassion, and a commitment to doing what's right. The story of William McKinley is more than a history lesson. It's a message of hope for anyone who dreams of making a difference. It shows that no matter where you start, you can achieve great things. McKinley once said, "The future belongs to those who believe in it." His belief in the future guided his actions, and it continues to guide those who remember his story. William McKinley's legacy truly lives on.